What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Extreme Bronco Live Wednesday night. I think we need to shorten our intro up, Gavin. It's like 45 seconds long. Hopefully, everyone sticks around through that long intro there. It's just when you go to edit something like that, it's like, what do you take out? But we're going to shorten that up a little bit with everything. Go ahead and flip that over there for me, sir. Thank you very much. All right, so a little bit of news this week. We're going to talk about some painted tops, soft tops, and things that are available and colors going away. I know it's been covered already this week. But what do you think about Cyber Orange, Gavin?
It's
Hitting
a
the
cool
road.
color, more of a yellow. It should be called Cyber Yellow, but orange yellow. That's what it should be called.
No, it's a cool color, and when you see one, I tell you what, Cyber Orange when you mix black, a lot of black into it, it just really pops. It's like Area 51. If you take Area 51 and maybe Area 51 on a base Bronco with Steelies on it, I mean, the color doesn't do it for me, but the more black you add to it, and any other color that you add to it, it really pops. So the Cyber Orange, it's getting the axe on the Ranger also, by the way. And that's unfortunate because it is a very bright color. I do like it. I know that
I've actually
there were a lot of them in Michigan. What were you saying?
I've actually seen, well, I was about to say Ranger, but I saw a lot of Cyber Orange Mavericks.
Yeah,
Like
there are.
a lot.
So it's a popular color. So I'll make everybody makes predictions, right? It'll be back in a couple years.
Wait, it left?
I think so. I mean, I have no idea.
Wait, it left?
Hey, sup, Jessica Dunn? That was pretty cool. I got to see your Bronco today there on the old Facebook.
Pez Head.
Looking good, looking good. Hey, Pez Head, what is going on? Nice talking to you. And speaking of Cyber Orange, he has he actually has a cooler matching. So we need to get an Area 51 cooler for your future Bronco. TJ Mill 3R, hello.
All right, so I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but in the New Age, 3R means like
Okay. And
so correct us, or
TJ Miller or Mill 3R. I'm just reading it how it's there. He's cool. I'm not.
Miller say Miller 1 or Mill 3R for 2. So say 1 for Miller, 2 for.
So TJ, are you confused like I am yet? Because it's like all these hit one for this and one for it's like like a phone prompt. But anyway, we'll get into that. Bronco 78. Good evening. How are you, sir? I hope everything is going good. Steve P. Hey from Phoenix. Nice to see you. Well, I would say it's nice to see you, but that'd be weird if I could see you. So nice to chat with you here on the old YouTube. Man, you must have had some sugar. You're like getting ready to run out of that chair there. Anyway, so what do you think about the Bronco? Yeah, there you go. See, how you like that? I know. I just, I'm sometimes afraid to, smart dude. I am sometimes afraid to say what I think something means because, when you go back and think, man, maybe I shouldn't have said that, I mean, because typing it's one thing, saying it's another.
John Hines, good evening, and my co-host.
Yeah, John, I'm his co-host. I'm his driver to school.
You pay for my tuition. You pay for everything.
I'm driving his Bronco until he can legally drive it. I take him to soccer practice. So, yeah, and I'm his co-host. That's pretty cool.
If it was the 1930s, then I could legally drive it.
Hey, who did we find out drove a car at 13 years old or 12 years old?
Henry Ford?
No, well, I'm sure he did.
Probably.
No, no, it was Ben Jones, the actor.
Oh yeah,
he played.
I remember.
He played the mechanic Cooter in Dukes of Hazzard. So,
but
he was. There was a little sign there where he drove. I think he was, I don't know, 11, 12, maybe 13 years old.
So Henry Ford probably drove a tractor because that was before cars were really a thing.
Bronco 78 said, now we know why Gavin is star of the show. Yeah, it's his Bronco and his mom's Bronco, the green ones. I'm just, don't hold my notes up there like that, man. It's like my homework. Can't see my homework. I got to talk about it.
Show everybody the answer.
Iconic Bronco, hey, from Texas. So you have a Bronco Raptor on order. I can't remember, we talked to a lot of people. Do you have a build date for yours, or no build date yet. Because as of today, we have no build date. Imagine that. However, we have something I'm going to show here in just a second.
What are you gonna show? Oh, that.
The first retail. It looks like the first retail one that was delivered to a dealer. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Hey, look, we're going to talk about tops here real quick, and then we're just
Aw,
going to
that's
go.
boring.
It's Iconic Bronco said it's built just sitting 624. Wow. So they're starting to move them out. Obviously, you've seen that. I know.
Raptor?
Yeah, first retail Raptor was delivered. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Who Ford's PR person? What's that?
You'll see the comment.
Uh-oh.
Dirt oval car.
Yeah, here we go.
I have a 4-wheeler.
So TJ, before I get back on the whole tops and Bronco Raptors and all that
bike.
good stuff, yeah, he has a mountain bike now, but he has a 4-wheeler, but it and your dog's barking again. What's up with that?
No, mine.
My
My 4-wheelers.
So his mom won't let him do stuff like that yet. I mean, I'm trying to ease him into.
So what is dirt oval cart?
What's that?
So what's dirt oval cart?
Dirt oval cart. Yeah, so it's like a racing go-kart, but
Mom!
on the dirt. You're live, dude. You might not want to yell in the mic. I know you're 10. You can get away with this stuff. But anyway, let's get back to that. Iconic Bronco. Your Raptor is built sitting. So I would think that now they're going to be moving them out, right? They started shipping them. I would imagine there's a big backlog there. Didn't you say you could see them sitting there at MAP when we were there?
I saw like 10 or 20.
10 or 20? I would imagine that. So anyway, hey man, did you eat dinner or what you doing with your fingers there? All right, so you've got to get ready to go to bed because you've had your first day of school and you've had your first day of soccer practice, so you're like worn out. But anyway, so the Bronco Raptors are going to start shipping out. So hang in there and let me know. I mean, when you get that email saying it's been shipped, I want to know. I'll tell you something I haven't found out. Did we ever find out how they're being shipped? Is it normal shipping? By
they're awfully wide for the carts, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Are they specialized deliveries? Or, I mean, I don't think it would be like reliable car haulers, but, is it coming on, flatbeds or is it still on rail or convoy on truck? No. So I don't know how they're shipping them. I know that the delivery charge on them, it's like $1,500. So I don't think that's too specialized. I was just wondering how they're being shipped. So anyway, hey, overlanding for fun. What is going on? What did you win? You won another free live stream here on Wednesday night. You get to watch it, my friend.
You want a piece of paper?
But yeah, TJ, I'd have to get that cleared through.
You win this pen.
Yeah, you win that pen. Next time we see you, we'll give it to you. But we'll let you know about that. Let's see. What does your dealer order Raptor say? Job 2, no build date either. Yeah, job 2. I can't do that. I was going to check my emails, but I think it is job 2. It's a priority. I want to say priority code 10. I might be wrong on that.
Priority code 99?
No, 10. 99 is not. No.
Because we had
the Bronco. No, we're talking about the Bronco Raptor. Yeah. So. Yeah. Oh, John Hines said, I think it should fit, talking about transportation, same size as the F-150. Yeah, so I was trying to find out, but no, it's like one of those subjects nobody wants to really dig into and find out. It's not like tops and colors being added and taken away and things like that. But yeah, getting back to TJ's comment, we're going to have to talk to your mom about getting you in some motorsports. So.
I'm almost 11, so I can definitely.
Yeah, so new 4-wheelers next for you. I mean, that's the next thing for you. So
one with more powerful engine, a lot higher above the ground, not like this high. Reverse.
All right, Gavin, let's add something here to the stream here. All right, folks. So I am going to switch over here and let's wait for it to click. Boom. There we go. So over on the Ford Authority, you'll see, personally, I like the website. There's a lot of great info there. let me go ahead and scroll through this here. So, as you know by now, you've seen it, Bronco 6G. There's a post on it, and other channels are already reporting on it that the 2023 Ford Bronco adds optional shadow black painted modular top. Now, it looks like there's some stipulations for this. I think it's for Big Bend, Outer Banks, Badlands, Wild Track.
Wait, there's different trims for the Raptor.
No. We're talking about tops. We're talking no. The Raptor is the Raptor. We're talking about painted shadow black painted hard tops for the regular Broncos. So we have the soft top or the MIC, which is the gray color, and
yes, like black is gray.
Yeah, black. Well, yeah, it is. But anyway, let's get on to this content here, Gavin, really quick, and then you can head on out for the night. So they go into when the debut of the 6th-gen, Bronco back in 2020 was, released. We were going to have the optional tops, painted tops, things like that. And then the history. We don't need to go over that again. And then it was possibly going to be late 22. Well, here we are. It looks like late 23 it's going to be available. And I think I'm correct on the certain trims. I know it's Big Bend, Wild Track, Badlands. I want to say Black Diamond. So basically most of the trims it looks like you're going to be able to order it for your Bronco, right? And of course the white tops, Gavin, seems to be for the Heritage and the Heritage Limited. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be something there. But I really think it's going to be a nice addition. Now I will say this, there'll be a lot of takes on it. I mean, somebody's going to get a black top, but what are you going to do about the MIC fender flares and also the bumpers, right? So the bumpers sort of match the fender flares, I think almost spot on or really close. So what would you do? If this was your Bronco right here, would you then have the fender flares painted gloss black, or would you keep them that?
I'd keep them that because they look really
why do you think you would keep them that way?
Because they look really cool.
They look really cool. So some people are going to want to match them, but these fender flares, we get them scratched up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And of course when they get dirty, at our dealership, the detailer, he has a really good product. I know a lot of people have been using different things. Somebody used soft scrub, which I would not recommend.
What's soft scrub?
Nothing you need to know about, but they use that, and it was like fingernails on a chalkboard when I saw that being used. Yeah, it was just like that, Gavin. But there's different products, but they have a product that they use, and of course, clean it with a brush is the best thing to do. Don't turn that light on. Okay. So anyway, there you go, Gavin. That's shadow black hardtop. Now, it doesn't look like there's any other changes. Obviously, it's a smooth painted top. It's not, I think the white tops that we saw in Detroit, did you like those? Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? But that's it on this. What do you think? I want to know. Let me see in the comment. What's up? I'm gone in 60. Hope all is well. So what do you think about that shadow black painted top for the select trims? Would you do it? Uh-oh. My Black Diamond got bumped from week 9.5 to 9.12. TJ Miller said this. My Black Diamond got bumped from week 9.12 to 9.5 to 9.12. Had a build date of 9.10, which was Saturday. Someone said over on Bronco 6G that Saturday builds usually get bumped. Any truth to this? So I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know that much, in detail with MAP. As far, yeah. Nice sound effects, Gavin. You hear that?
I don't know what sound effects I do.
Yeah, he makes all kinds of sound effects. Hey, listen, you want to say goodbye to everyone, and then you can get ready for tomorrow's school day? All right, so Gavin's out.
Bye.
See you, buddy. All right. Let's see. New build date 9/15, which is a Thursday. Well, that's a good. I mean, that's a good time to have it. I think our Bronco was built on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I have to go back and check that. Our 21. I have no idea about the 22. So yeah, let's see here. So anyway, I just think it's one of those things to where, if you look at the build dates, if you look at what's coming up with 23, we're going to see how Ford handles that. We know that the new orders are going to be delayed. They're going to take care of existing reservation order holders, people that have been waiting and truly need their Bronco like right now. And I think that's the best thing in the world. Once you get through that, as the new orders are placed and then those go into production, at the exact same time, they're going to be building reservation and order holders. They're building dealer stock with the basically the components that they have. So they're going to be able to build, whether it be a base or a Big Ben or it might be a Badlands, non-Sasquatch or something like that. Who knows? But when they start pushing these things out, I think you're going to start to see more balance to the market. Right? Less people are going to order if dealers have more. I mean, it's a small number. I get it. Because, right now, price of vehicles are going up naturally, then everything goes up. Interest rates are up. So with the interest rates going up, that's putting people sometimes in a crunch. The average ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine vehicle, the average sale is like $46,000. I want to say it's 66,000 for EV. So, people are paying that and, upper trim Broncos, but then as those interest rates go up and who knows where they stop, that's going to push people down on the purchase price. So, I think that as bases, Big Bens get built and I'm saying without Sasquatch and put on the dealer lots, and a lot of people are going to take those if the dealer is treating people right, not, still jacking up the MSR, over MSRP. But I think you're going to see a lot of those and then slowly built aftermarket from there. You're going to see a lot of the modifications and things like that. So the auto industry is very unique right now. I was looking at used car numbers. We'll talk about that on another show. We actually have we're going to be doing a special live, I think, next week on the new Ford Mustang and kind of covering some of the other stuff as well. We won't get into that tonight, but when you start to research used vehicles, new vehicles, inventory starting to go up on certain models and certain trims and certain brands, and still low on others. The Bronco's one that's low because it's such a desired vehicle. It's not just transportation from here to there, even though it is transportation from A to B, but it's a cooler way of doing it, right? With a lot more capability. So we'll see how long it takes for that satisfying, building those that have been waiting the longest, and also building those dealers. And how does that affect the new orders? What I want to see after the initial hype order, like all of us that's ordered our Bronco and received it, I want to see where the numbers going to be when we get to more of a, you satisfied the original enthusiasts. Where do we go from there? How many Broncos are ordered? How many are built? How many are sold a year? So I think this will be very interesting. With inventories dropping, dealer inventories dropping, there's just going to be less vehicles built to sit, obviously, but you can order it and the turn rate is pretty quick at a dealership. So it's just pretty it's pretty interesting. Bird Dog Overland. Good night. I look forward to a review on that fridge after you've had it a while. I know initially you did the one, but anyway. And sorry, I'm slow. I guess you're saying night to Gavin. I don't know. Let's see here. Kyle says 9/1 is my blend date anniversary. Gotcha. So I guess our anniversary is 9/12, something like that. Bird Dog Overland, sorry about that. Like I said, I'm late. These Wednesdays are fun for me, but I got home from work late today and been running around. So, anyway, so I think we'll probably do a video. We don't have 10,000 miles on the 21 yet, but when we have it a year, it's coming up here in about a month, we're definitely going to do a 1-year review on it. And I think that's going to be cool seeing a lot of people right now are hitting that 1-year mark because deliveries really started happening, in June, and then obviously ramping up. So being a September build doesn't seem like a bad deal now when you started in late May and June. but the numbers ramped up pretty heavily. And so being a September build, I was blessed. I mean, I was complaining then like everyone else, trust me. But looking on it now, some people don't have their Bronco. I was truly blessed. So, but anyway, so I want to know, like, what is it about the leaks that you're seeing about what is being taken away as far as colors and what's being added as far as colors that we know so far? I will say this: I had someone tell me that deals with a lot of the ordering of vehicles. They did tell me that they didn't have anything certain and didn't want to push it to me yet, but it looks like there was going to be some really cool changes for 23. Now, what's cool to this person, I have no idea, but it was interesting to hear that. Yeah, a couple colors are going away, but what's going to be added? So that's the biggest thing that I want to see. I mean, we've got some, shadow black hardtop. Well, that's really cool. But what else is out there? And so it seems like there's going to be some pretty cool stuff added. We'll see. Like I said, cool to me is, a V8, but we know that's not happening is on a standard Bronco. But we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, let's see. I'm gone in 60 said, just bought an Audi A6 as a project car for the channel. My interest rate was 3.9. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. And there again, I will tell you this. I mentioned interest rates going up. It's no secret they've gone up, but it's like in housing. A lot of people think interest rates are the highest they've been in 50 years, and they're not. Depends on your credit, depends on where you are, depends on the price. But, there's last week, there were numbers being, I guess, buying paper for that 5.5152, which is high if you look at the last 12 months, 18 months, but historically it's very low. So it's like, I say interest rates are higher. They are higher, but it's just where we've been the last few years. People have that initial shock. Used vehicles, the 2 to 8 year old used vehicles are really, and I'm going to 60, you probably know on this is, not every vehicle is depreciating right now. Like certain, I don't know how many weeks or how many months of appreciation there's been. So a couple weeks of depreciation. But if you go back and look at the graph, and I might share this on one of our other shows, it's kind of been appreciation, depreciation, appreciation. It's just this, wave back and forth. Something like the Bronco, I think, is isolated from that because of the cool factor, because, a lot of people want them and they're just not available. But when you get into some of what we'd call standard cars, those are being affected quite a bit. But that 2 to 8 year old vehicle right now is really holding its value. And then the 9 to 15 is starting to be affected because of interest rates, right? Believe it or not, you should think, well, wait a minute. And this is how it was explained to me. The person buying the 2-year-old car really wanted a new one, but couldn't get the one they wanted. So they're in that 2-year-old. They're pushing everyone further back that would normally buy a 5-year-old car is now buying 10 because there's more people in that market. Anyway, it's a whole nother story. I know it sounds like spaghetti there. But yeah, good deal. I'm going to 60. It's interesting. You start to do these different builds and obviously we're mostly Bronco, but then as we start to do these other things like the new S650 Mustang 2024, I think I have a video on that coming out. I say, I think I have the video. It's just, will it be finished for Friday? I don't know, but that's getting ready to be the next hot thing on the internet, right? I mean, it's already ramping up, but when Ford reveals that car on September 14th, it's going to be pretty cool. And, Ford learned something, I think, with the Broncos. They learned that the initial hype, pushes this thing through. They've got the Stampede, the Mustang Stampede that is going to lead up to the 14th. I forget where it starts, maybe Washington State, and it kind of moves toward the Detroit Auto Show. So that's going to be pretty cool. And I think that definitely, they've, Ford is they're no stranger to reveals and getting stuff launched. I mean, if you look at the first Mustang, just taking a break from Bronco for a minute, it was done, most vehicles in the 60s were launched in the fall of the year. So one of the things Ford wanted to do, and the executives there, was push it to the World's Fair, which was held in New York on in April. I think it was April 17th, 1964. And they wanted to do that because there's going to be media from all over the world there, and it's a World's Fair. A lot of people going to be there, period. But also, it was before any other manufacturer had their, so it was sort of a standalone marketing. No other manufacturer had their new model for that year. And so I think some of those things that were learned over the years, and to be able to reveal the Mustang now, so let's see, September 14th, but to have it built, or the first day it's going to be built, or whatever they're going to do, if it was April 17th next year, that would just be really cool. So anyway, but I think Ford did learn quite a bit with the Bronco, and obviously direct to consumer, as far as marketing, taking the reservations, and sort of going with the Bronco like they did Mach-E, and then building on that with Lightning, and so I think that way forward, there's a lot of learning, right? It's a popular vehicle in the Bronco. People want it, but it's also a different way of buying it or ordering it, and it's pretty cool. So, Tim just got back from Vegas rodeo. Being from Michigan, it was awesome, and some crazy rock crawling. Highly recommend it going. Yeah, so Tim just got back from Bronco off rodeo in Vegas, and I'll tell you, I haven't been to Vegas. I do know someone that works Vegas there, but Texas for me was really cool because I got to do stuff in the Bronco that, well, I hadn't done off-roading, four-wheeling for forever. I mean, just period. So to be able to do that there in a closed course with people teaching you how to do it in a vehicle with more buttons and modes than I'd ever been in before, it was a learning curve. So good for you, Tim. I'm glad you had fun doing it. All right, let's see. TJ, my local credit union is at 2.5 on a 2020 plus vehicle for 60 months currently. Yeah, and that's not bad, and it's another benefit of a credit union. They get to play by a little bit different rules than some banks. Obviously, in the real estate business, if you deal with private lenders, or if you deal with community banks, for example, there's a lot more leverage than there is the big rubber stamp stuff until you get to a certain portfolio level, and then you start having lunch with the people. But right now, community banks, credit unions seem to be the best. I will also tell you, though, that dealers in their network can shop around, and yes, there's a finance and reserve component to that, but who cares if they get you a better rate and better terms? So it's not just the rate, the total terms of the deal is what I look at. So if a dealer can work in their network and still get you a better deal, then go for it. Do that. Or if you have a credit union, do that. Just make sure you have that conversation with your dealer so you're not shocked that now stuff starts getting added because they don't have the financing in house. So before you do it, you got to have that conversation if you haven't had it already. Hopefully by now everyone's seen all the horror stories, and so you know what to ask and when to ask it. Let's see. Car story. Anything I need to be aware of before I take my 2.7 Bronco on a 2,000-mile road trip? No, I mean, we just went 1,800 miles round trip from Thursday till Sunday, a couple weeks ago now. No, it's a great engine. I don't know it. So obviously if you have a 2.7, you have a 10-speed, 10R60. So you have the 10-speed transmission. Depend on if you have Sasquatch or not. If you have Sasquatch, 70 miles an hour. If that's the speed limit where you're going, you'll tack just over 2,100 RPMs, right around, I think it's 21 and some change, going 70 with Sasquatch. Factory tires, factory gearing in a Badlands. Different axle ratios, obviously, is going to change things. I would say no. I mean, personally, I can't tell you what to use, but personally, we use 93 octane. I found I get better MPG with it. I also like the components. I like a higher octane, a higher temperature fuel, and obviously you make more horsepower per Ford specifications with the 93 over the 87, 89, and some places have 91. So wherever you're at. I would, I don't know. I mean, get in it and drive it. That's what I did, and it was fun. It was cool. I don't use adaptive cruise control. I thought it would be cool, but I don't use it because I don't like the acceleration if you're behind a vehicle. And this is one thing I think they need to tweak in the software, just my humble opinion. If you're behind a vehicle, it starts to slow you down. You change lanes. Now there's nothing in front of you. And suddenly it just stabs the gas and you're gone. It's not the acceleration that bothers me because, hey, that's fun, right? It's if I'm at 1600 to 1800 RPM, so I'm going 55 or 60, I'm not crazy about giving it that much accelerator without the transmission downshifting, right? So if I'm going to give it the gas, I'm going to take it to the point where it's going to downshift pretty quick, so I get the RPMs up. So I don't like the idea of that giving just enough throttle, whereas it's not downshifting, because I like my RPMs to be over 2000 with a boosted engine when you're creating boost. That's just a personal thing here. Oh, let's see what we got going on. Sorry, I'm catching up on some of these comments here. Yeah, so car story. If you look at Ford's owner's manual, getting back to the octane, 87 on a 2.7, and maybe somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this, is 315 horsepower. At 93 octane, I think it goes all the way up to 330 or 335, maybe 330. I think it's about a 15 horsepower difference. Now it depends on altitude, all this, and the computer on the Bronco. I mentioned in a video, somebody questioned me when I said fine tune. Yes, the Bronco does fine tune itself. Most new engines do, but the EcoBoost, especially the 2.7, has some pretty cool stuff with the variable cam timing, the cam phasers, of course, ignition timing being advanced or retarded, or that has always been a thing, right? I mean, for a long time. That's no secret. But the cam phasing, so valve timing being adjusted. So all this stuff works with the sensors, the mass airflow sensor, boost, the altitude, right? And all of that changes. But if you're sea level, or I don't know, 1,200 to 2,000 feet, I think where I'm at right here, 93 octane does us well. And by the way, I did get to talk to someone that knows the Ford engines quite well. And the Bronco Raptor, the 418 horsepower, is on 87 octane. So I wouldn't be shocked if something comes out that it's actually cranking over 418. And why wasn't that announced? If it's true, don't know. But just something to think about. If they, the 2.3 went up in horsepower and the 2.7 went up in horsepower with the different ratings between 87 and 93. So I would think that the 3.0 would do the exact same thing. I mean, the 3.0 is a modified 2.7, really. So shouldn't be any big difference there. I'm gone in 60. Thank you for that. 330 horsepower, 415 feet-pounds of torque. Somebody asked me the other day in a video, they said, hey, what, the difference between torque and horsepower, like tell me in 2 seconds, like I'm 5 years old, the difference. I'm like, well, I don't know about all that, but the comments they're across the board. But horsepower, and this is very generic, so please don't burn me up in the comments. I'm just trying to make it just out there. But horsepower is how fast the shaft turns. Torque is how hard you can turn that shaft, or how that shaft can the force that can be turned on that shaft. Meaning, that's why torque is more important than off-roading. If you're in the mud, you're in the sand, it's nice to have that high torque number to really just turn that axle, turn the differentials, and move you through. Horsepower is great in getting you from point A to point B, right? So if you had to say what's the difference, now you'll see that the two go hand in hand. If you look at tuning RPM ranges, you look at cam, when people are trying different camshafts, the the horsepower peaks at one number or at one RPM, the torque peaks at another, and the torque really in off-road is what I'm concerned about, not so much the horsepower. That's why the Bronco Raptor numbers, when people, well, it's not 500 horsepower, right? But the rest of the vehicle, it's a package. I don't need a big heavy V8, and I know it's only like 60, 70 pounds more, but I don't need that big V8 in there to say I have this much horsepower. What I need is a vehicle that's built like a fine-tuned machine, like a musical instrument, right? That the engine, transmission, and differentials, front and rear, and the gearing and everything being equal, including the suspension, is built to do what it was intended to do. And that's not run the quarter mile on asphalt. That is to go off-road, Baja, and do the kind of stuff that would cause a 392 Wrangler to really have a hard time with. And so I think when you start to see in the real world, somebody take their private owner, take their Bronco Raptor out and just run it, I think that's, you're really going to start to see that. I mean, you see it now with rock crawling, right? You see people, well, that Bronco, there was a video the other day on Bronco 6G. They can't, they can't make that line or whatever it was. Like, yeah, they actually did it pretty cool. A little bit of a hiccup at the top, but they then went right over it. So it was pretty cool. Torque is your butt in the seat. Horsepower is the wind in your face. I like it. Very well said. And that's true. I mean, it's just a difference. The how fast can we get there and the ability to get there, right? So pretty cool. Let's see. TJ, I end up with my Mach 1 because they first came out. I remember sitting, sorry, my screen moves every time somebody comments, so I got to keep track. I end up with a Mach 1 because when they first came out, I remember sitting in one of the dealerships saying, going to own one of these one day. Yeah. I had a GT 500, an 07 when that car first came out, and I actually got it July of 06, but it was an 07, red, white stripes. I was totally impressed with that car. But what happened? They were going to build 8,500, then they were going to build 12,000, and then they're going to build them the next year. And then, now the GT 500 now is a street legal race car, like straight up race car. It would blow the doors off of my 07, compare them side by side, not only because the extra horsepower, but the gearing, the suspension, the whole package, it's built. And that's what you would expect over 12 years? Actually, 15 years. Man, time's flying by. Yeah, the new Mach 1 is a beast, and you're going to see a lot of that with the 2.3 EcoBoost 2024 Mustang coming out, the 5-liter. Excuse me. And the Mach 1 is going to have I think a different intake. There's some question now what platform it's built on, and let's save this for the video, but that's going to be fun. Check it out I think it's on Friday. So let's see here what we got. In Colorado, we only have 85 and 91 octane typically. So yeah, that's very good. So 91 octane with the altitude. So that's going to play a different role. It would be interesting to know at whatever altitude you are at with 91, what the horsepower and torque would be. That's, that, and I think when these numbers are taken, they don't say, at least I've never seen it, it was taken at such and such zip code or in this state or this city. That's just a number it was rated at. New vehicles are less affected by, when you get into it, race cars are affected by moisture, right? So when they had carburetors, and most race cars still do, the jetting is dependent on air density and barometric pressure and things like that. But the new cars, they do so much of this tuning, right? They're so good at what they do. I don't know if you would notice a huge difference, maybe in gas mileage, but not in power. So that is my humble opinion on that. Yeah, and I'm going to 60 was mentioned. He has and he's talking to TJ there. He has a 2019 Bullet. That car, and it's interesting to see the number, the K number there, the car number. In this case, KOO. when you see that, a lot of Bullet owners are putting that on there, and I think that's one thing that's really, really cool that Ford, is really, it helps people identify. Oh, wow, mine is, somebody say mine's 24. There's 23. Well, that's pretty cool. I know somebody with the next vehicle in line. One of the things I thought was interesting, I went to the Ford Nationals in Carlisle, Pennsylvania this year, and there were some people from Ford there, and they had a really good booth set up, by the way. They had a Bronco Raptor there, and they had other things as well. But they were mentioning the new Mustang registry, where you can register your Mustang with Ford, and you can track that car. You know what someone's, what's going on with it, right? And you kind of keep up with it. And I mean, if you sell it, or other people can, if you choose, people can actually, in like a car club, they can see where you are or where your car is, what you've done to it, or something like that. Supposedly, they're looking at doing that with the new Bronco. Well, any Bronco. And let me just say new. The new Bronco, I think, has brought that out. So going back to 1966 when the Bronco launched, it actually, I guess, officially launched August 11, 65, but 66 Bronco to current, that to be able to register them and to be able to keep up with it. How cool is that? So, but it's just pretty cool stuff when you see the, when you get to see that, I don't know, the history of a vehicle. I have the car right here. Well, you can't really see it. I have a book around here somewhere, but my black and gold Mustang here, I know where that car, I know its history from 1983 until now. But before that, it had a pretty cool history. It went to Georgia. It was green and white and ended up being painted black and gold. And a teacher had it, and then it was wrecked, and then gave it to or sold to someone else. And, you can keep track of stuff like that. And some people don't care. Where's the keys? I need to go to the store. And then there's people that just like knowing the story behind a vehicle. I was thinking, there might have been a show or something, but if cars could talk, right? Imagine imagine some of the stories you would hear. Some of them you might not want to hear. Hey, what's up, Flo? I haven't chatted with you in a while. TFL always says you need 2.7 in higher elevation. And they would know. I mean, obviously they test the heck out of vehicles, great channel, but they also are from that area, right? And so they really get it. So that's a good point. I haven't heard them say that, but I wouldn't doubt it. And let's see. Yeah, Micah. Yeah. So, or no, Car Story said 70 miles an hour, about 2,100 RPM. So, yeah, getting back to your question about driving. Sorry, I go on these rants. I know. I just drove and I had a great time. I'll tell you the one thing when I went to Detroit this time, going there, we went sort of a little bit longer, maybe an hour longer route, but it was more country, more scenic. When I came back, it was just highway, and there was a little bit of country. I went through Paw, West Virginia. Let me know if you've ever heard of Paw, West Virginia. So I was on a road. It was a 2-lane road and a 1-lane bridge. So when you get to the bridge, obviously neighborly thing, somebody stops, someone else goes over, and then you go over the bridge. There was one bridge like that. It was pretty interesting. But that was cool being there in western part of Virginia, but the rest of it was just boring. So the next time we're definitely going to go through southern West Virginia. I'm trying to think, I'm drawing a blank right now where it was, but we went through southern West Virginia and then up through Ohio. It was a nice drive, and it was pretty cool. So, but to answer your question on that, I was on that drive. It was fun, a lot of straight roads, and obviously hills, mountains in West Virginia. And the mountains doesn't affect it. I mean, just cruise, some vehicles really do struggle. The Bronco just no issues whatsoever, at least mine. And then when on the flat roads, it's just a great vehicle to drive. The IFS suspension, or I guess I could just say the IFS. It really is comfortable. It's a decent drive. I say decent. I mean, it's a really good driving vehicle. The seats are good. They're not too comfortable. I like them. They're comfortable for me. But what I mean by too comfortable, you don't want to go to sleep an hour into the trip. At least I didn't. The Bronco's so fun to drive. You're aware. It's still new enough that even though my 21's almost a year old, it's still new enough that it's just fun to drive, right? So it makes the trip fun. And I would just say this is buy decent gas and go have fun. Let's see. TJ Miller, I live probably 40 miles from Paw Paw. Okay, so you probably know the bridge I'm talking about. There was a little bit of construction going on one bridge, but we went down this one bridge, and I'm telling you, it was right near the West Virginia line, and it was a one-lane bridge, and it was an old bridge. So I figured, but it was beautiful country through there, though. I tell you, if you ever wanted a cabin like in the woods away from it, that's like top 5 right there for sure. Let's see, flow or was it turbo and higher elevation? So a flow on that, I wouldn't be surprised if it was more cubic inches. Because I mean, cubic inches are basically volume of a cylinder head, right? Combustion chamber itself. So the more action you have, the more fuel, more air, the more power that typically you get. But yeah, turbos definitely help because it helps control the atmosphere in the cylinder versus it just being susceptible to the barometric pressure, oxygen, stuff like that. So to be able to push that air in that cylinder versus having to drag it in, which is another poor example, but that's basically what's happening. One's a vacuum cleaner and one's an air compressor, right? A naturally aspirated engine's a vacuum pump, and a turbo or supercharged engine is a pressurizing device, right? It's stuffing it in there. Obviously, a lot less at low RPMs, but when you stick your foot in it, it will introduce some air. Let's see. Pawpaw is a fruit native to the eastern U.S. Tim, I think you might have mentioned that. I mentioned that I went through Pawpaw, West Virginia, and I think you might have mentioned that. Yeah. Interesting. So I guess if you wanted one, that's where you go to get them, right? But thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I'm always curious to know, how does some of these places get their names, right? So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Car story. I'll be going through Central Florida, way upstate I-95. Yeah. So here is the only thing that I tried to do. Now, I'm not really OCD, I guess. I'm not joking. I'm just saying, seriously, I'm not. But when I'm driving, I know what's around me. I know what's in front of me, behind me, and I really tried to stay away from trucks. So if I could get away from a truck and not break the sound barrier, that's what I would do. If a truck was obviously driving faster than the speed limit, I would drop back a little bit and just let them get some distance on me, because I've really done a good job with rock chips. I've had my F-250 since 2016, December of 2016, and I got the first rock chip last week. So I'm pretty good with rock chips, and knock on wood, and I probably shouldn't even say it. I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it. I don't have rock chips in either Bronco because I really do try to stay away from it. And, they're doing a lot of paving. If you notice, a lot of paving happens this time of the year because, well, when it's cold outside, it's hard to pave. So there's a lot of roads being ground down and milled and being paved right now. So around here, it's a target-rich environment for windshields. So I really try to give the space. But, 95 is going to be a good drive for you. I mean, you're just going to really love it. You go through Richmond. If you there's a restaurant up there, I'm trying to draw the name of it. One of the guys that are on the Discovery Channel, the barbecue cooking channel, the competition show, he has a restaurant there in Richmond. His name is Tuffy. And that food up there is absolutely awesome. So Q Barbecue, I think, is what it is. You get a chance, you ever go eat at Q Barbecue, the hamburgers, the barbecues, absolutely awesome. Let's see. Yeah, Tim said, and Tim, I've heard you say this before, and I think there's something to it. You said you only get rock chips and broken windshields from tailgating. I leave a lot of distance, and I said trucks. I mean, in general, It's pretty bad when you see all the people commenting on broken windshields, and then I start driving down the road and a vehicle passes me. I'm thinking, what kind of tires do they have? How likely am I to get a rock chip? But I will tell you, Tim, in my truck, I was quite a distance away, and this rock was bouncing and bouncing, and I could see it, and I was thinking, okay, do I accelerate or brake? I need to be in that arch, right? I needed to see it go over my head. Nope. It took a football bounce and right into the windshield. So I will say there's exceptions to that, but I do believe there's something to a lot of windshields being cracked. Simple physics. Let's see. I'm going to 60 says, I have the front end covered with PPF on the Bullet and the Bronco. Good idea. I put extra insurance on the windshield of the Bronco because it's almost straight up and down. I do, it's almost vertical. So there's not a lot of deflection. Something hits it, it's stopping. So that is a deal. The windshield in F-250, because it has all of the electronics, the cameras and everything, I think it's $2,700. So typically I wouldn't run through our company insurance for a windshield, but because we're going to have it fixed. We haven't had it fixed yet. They're going to just seal the crack, but it'll one day finish. When it does, I will definitely go through insurance on that, because that's a lot of money. Now I will tell you, company trucks, smaller, $400 or $500 windshields, we pay for out of pocket, because, I don't want insurance claims. Let's see here. Bronco dude. First time I've seen you commenting, I think. I'll be upgrading to the Everglades from an Outer Banks non-Sasquatch with leather. Are there any major differences that I'll most likely notice one from the other? Okay, so one difference is the Outer Banks is non-Sasquatch and the Everglades is. Of course, you have the really cool 6-slotted wheels on there, 35-inch territories. I personally like everything about the Sasquatch package on mine. The tire noise doesn't affect me because I bought an off-road vehicle. And maybe that doesn't excuse, one tire being louder than another, but I like it, really. I mean, that's why I bought it. So that's not an issue for me. Obviously if it's an Everglades, it's a 2.3. It's MIC top. You've got the really cool slide out tailgate on that. Let's see. Difference is going to be, what engine do you have in the Outer Banks? Do you have a 2.3 or a 2.7? That'd be interesting. So if you have this 2.3, you're probably going to notice there's going to be a little bit more tire noise, but not much. 2.3. You're not going to notice a lot in drivability, acceleration. Now, the 35s are heavier, right? It is a little bit heavier. And the Sasquatch, the 2.0 suspension, there is some differences there, right? And some people get into, well, what's the gearing? The gearing's different. And so I would say that it's going to be fun to drive. Maybe not any better, any worse than the other, but it will feel slightly different. I will tell you, the other thing is your Outer Banks does not, I'm sure it doesn't have, I know it doesn't because it's not Sasquatch. It doesn't have a rear sway bar. So in 22, in Sasquatch and 4-door, I think it was Sasquatch with 4-door, or maybe it was all 4 doors, but I'm pretty sure it's Sasquatch and 4 doors. They added a rear sway bar. So I can't tell you when you go around a corner at a certain speed, you can feel a certain difference. But I'll tell you that there is a difference between my 21 Badlands Sasquatch and the 22 Badlands Sasquatch. And the only difference, unless something's changed that we haven't found yet, is the fact that they've added a rear sway bar on the 22. And the 22 has an MIC top, whereas the 21 soft top. Now, why does that matter? But there's a weight difference, right? But there's also the psychological thing. It's quieter with the MIC than a soft top, not by much, but it is. And I think it's a difference. You almost feel like it drives different because it's quieter, if that makes any sense at all. I mean, to some people, that's going to make no sense, but some of you know what I mean. but there is a difference in the handling. And so I think with that rear sway bar, you're going to notice that. So there'll be that acceleration shouldn't be affected by much, if any at all. And the snorkel, I don't know if you've really looked at the, the removable intake on the snorkel. So and this is something that most people don't want to deal with, but with a snorkel, it's kind of cool, right? It's an option on there. If you're going to be in heavy snow, or if you're going to be in days and days of heavy rain, I think I don't know if Ford recommends it, but maybe snorkels. Just read up on this. Don't take my advice. But you want to move the intake to the rear from what they tell you, because with like big, wet, heavy snowflakes, it's likely to stop up the intake on the front. And obviously with the intake, the grill in the front is supposed to be better for all around driving. Now, heavy dust, which is really what a snorkel's for, the heavy dust particles, that's when you want to flip it around to the back too. So if you're going to be in some really dry off-roading conditions, a lot of dust in the air, that might be something that you look at, moving it to the back. So I would say there's some snorkel stuff in there. But that's it. You get a mid-package Bronco with a 12-inch touchscreen, cool stuff in it, marine grade vinyl slide-out tailgate, 6 slotted wheels, 2.3. You got and a winch. I mean, you got a nice Bronco coming, and I can't wait to see it. If you're on Instagram, it would be cool when you get it. Post a picture and tag us over on Instagram. That would be awesome. Let's see. Overlanding for fun. In Indiana, broken windshields are considered an act of God. And cannot be held. Okay, that's interesting, Tim, because I know here, you can claim it but it's not, obviously that's not good for your insurance. At least that's what I'm told. We drove a 2.3 Sasquatch and non-Sasquatch, and non-Sasquatch definitely felt like it to me to see. Okay. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know anyone personally. I've been trying to piece all this together, but what's the MPG? You have to do the same driver, though, driving the same way. You can't do two different drivers. But if the same driver drove a 2.3 automatic non-Sasquatch and then a Sasquatch, and they drove it exactly the same you could do sort of A/B tests on that. The problem is when you look at the forums, I know people that get 14 miles, MPG in a 2.7, and I get 20. And that's because everybody says I drive like I'm 115 years old, but I don't. I do stick my foot in it to get up to speed. Sorry, I got the coughs here. Don't you love that? Somebody muting on a live stream and coughing. But I do have, I do accelerate, right? But there's a huge difference. So you'd have to do the same driver, non-Sasquatch, Sasquatch, same engine, and try it for a week, and then you go from there. Let's see. Love the wheels and the fenders of the Everglades. Looks awesome. Yeah, the squared off fenders are really cool. I think I don't know what color you got, but if it's desert sand, that's going to be even more of a rare vehicle, because I don't know if the Everglades comes back, and I know desert sand has been taken away. So that's going to be one of the interesting things. Let's see. The snorkel always allows you to drive underwater. Tim, no, not true. Actually, the Everglades does have the highest level for water fording that's out there. I'll tell you something else. So Bronco dudes get desert sand. So you have a really rare color, because that's like a half year color type thing. That's going to be very cool. When you look at the big badge on the side, there are these horizontal lines, and those lines actually mean something. We have a video here. That's one of the Easter eggs that's not really been talked about. But if you check out our video on that, because I can't remember all the lines, but it's pretty interesting. They actually mean something as far as depth are concerned. Let's see. Hit some of these comments. Bronco Dude said, that's awesome. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you. Appreciate the comment. And thanks for watching, by the way. And I didn't do this earlier. Tim, you should have reminded me. Hit the like button for me if you don't mind on this video. Help YouTube spread it around, whether it's live or on replay. And by the way, thank you for watching live or on replay. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. You know how that works. We appreciate, and we don't take your subscription lightly either. So when somebody subscribes to our channel, I'm genuinely grateful, and I hope our next video is better than the last, and I hope we keep going in the right direction. And if you like Mustang stuff, watch out, because we have some S650 info coming out, which is the 2024 Mustang. And man, there's you think the Bronco rumor mill was running crazy before the Bronco came out, and in a little bit now. The Mustang one is insane about, the platform it's going to be built on and interior. It is crazy. The Bronco, let's see. I think the Bronco body on the Bronco is going to stay relatively the same. It's like a Jeep. Jeeps had small changes, but if you think about it, you see a Jeep now, kind of reminds me of a Jeep 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And that's not a knock on Jeeps. That's just saying, it's a design that has worked for them for a long time. I think as the years go on, and, Ford always plans out, I know for a fact the Bronco's out 2028. I think the body's going to stay roughly the same, maybe some small changes. I would think maybe a different hood in the future. Obviously, we've seen the fenders change, so that's small stuff like that. I think that the body's going to change. But what'll change is trim levels, accessories, amenities, cool stuff, colors. And who knows? Maybe a truck's in the future. Maybe a Bronco truck's in the future. I know they said they're not going to build it, but I also know some stuff that they're driving around with right now that they weren't going to build either. But it's on the road. It's not being produced yet. But so things change. And by the way, the Oates, I have over here on my notes to talk about the Oates. I know, keep my day job, right? What do you think about the Oates? I still think it's going to be a 2.3, a Bronco 2-door 2.3 hybrid. That's just what I think it's going to be. Why the 2.3? I think it's entering the hybrid world. It would make sense to use a combination that they already have or have tested extensively. So it's not all new, but I really believe that'll be the Oates thing. I have no idea when that's going to be announced. Detroit Auto Show's coming up soon. Is it going to be there? Or is it going to be later in the year? Later in the year, what do we have? Just a few more months, 4 more months in the year. If it's going to happen in 22, it'll probably happen at Detroit Auto Show, which is September 14th. If it doesn't happen then, it would be unlikely that we would see anything for this year. At least that's my humble opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong. Hey, let's get some of the comments. Bronco 78. I think the first Bronco hybrid would be a 4-door. I could see that. I could see that because you would think, family, more of a family vehicle. Not saying a 2-door is not. Don't hate me for that, but you know what I mean. More room, you can put more people in it, more stuff in the back, things like that. I don't know. I have that gut feeling it's either going to be that or it's going to be a V8 Bronco. It's going to be one of the two. It's going to be a V8 or it's going to be a hybrid. And I know they said they weren't building the V8s. I've uploaded a video this week. So I have some knowledge on that. So check that out. Let's see. Wonder what the Oates stands for. So, and I think it's spelled Oates. So I was going through my head one day. I was actually in the grocery store. I was in Kroger and I was on the breakfast aisle and I'm looking at Quaker Oats. Thinking, what does this mean? That's kind of like, I know I need something to do. Right. But I'm in a grocery store trying to figure out what does Oates mean. Something hit me about over any terrain electric, but then I couldn't figure the S part out. Right. Said the only thing that would come to mind is style, but that's kind of goofy. That's, it's about over any terrain electric. And then what would the S mean? So maybe play around with that and see if, who knows? Could be totally wrong. Broncos eat oats. I'm going as 60 said. I agree. I think Hall and Oates, a Rod Hall edition, maybe. I mean, like you could take this stuff out there. I just have no idea. And one of the things that I didn't see anyone else here on YouTube talking Bronco, Ford didn't have to. Well, when they launched the Heritage, the hint was in broad like daylight. It was the only thing they didn't do was email it to us all. If we'd have looked at the calendar and noticed that August 11th, 65 was when the Bronco was first revealed, shown to the public, and then of course sold in 66. Man, none of us said, "Hey, August." We're hearing the hints, we're seeing the spy photos, and now we're in August. But anyway, that one got biased, and so they launched it. I've been trying to figure out Oates on that. Is it something that should be obvious to us in the end? I don't know. And it may be something that they've pulled back on. Maybe that it was all intent and purposes of doing it, and then they pulled back on it. But the fact that it's a two-door to me. But then when you think about V8, I think about a video. It may have been TFL or someone else did it. They talked to a Ford engineer about the Bronco Raptor. Now, this is important. So they needed the wheelbase of the four-door for the stability of the overall vehicle with that kind of torque and power. And not just torque and power. I mean, that's small. That's a third of it maybe, but the suspension, right? So for it to act right, for that suspension to work, the 13 inches of travel in the front, the 14 in the rear. And of course, it's not 13 all the time in the front and 14 all the time in the back. The computer actually determines, based on the terrain that you're on and what it's feeling, how much travel that needs to be there. One of the biggest things they don't want to do is bottom you out on the joust bumpers or the jump bumpers. The shocks, the Fox shocks are going to, and the live valve, they're going to try to keep you from that point, but it's going to change in there. But I mean, if you think about that, really suspension in that Bronco's a work of art. It's like high tech. They needed the wheelbase to get the articulation, get everything they needed. So I don't know, but that wouldn't say, okay, well, maybe it could still be a V8 in a two-door, but it'll have the 3.0 suspension, not quite Bronco Raptor, but more than the Sasquatch, which is 2.0, sort of like that optional Wild Track 3.0 suspension. So, who knows? But I would say that if it's a V8, from what I hear, they can't do that on the Lionett map. So it would be more of a custom build. Think, GT 500. Well, GT 500s are built on a line, but let's say take a Ford GT. Not quite that expensive, obviously, but probably $150K. So I don't really know. It's definitely they applied, I guess, for the VIN or to the identification on the VIN, for the breakdown. So it's definitely not the DR because that's off-road. I did say that originally. I didn't think about the fact that, well, that's off-road only. So it's interesting. I think the most likely scenario is going to be hybrid. So definitely like to know. And I'll get back to the comments because you might have been trying to figure this out. The V8 will be a Raptor R like the F-150. Bronco 78, I totally agree. Monty, over any terrain except snow. There you go. I like it. Actually, that's pretty good. That's so far. That's the winner chicken dinner because if you think about EV, right, and I don't think they're going to be known for their ability and agility in snow and cold temperatures, at least with battery technology that we have right now. That might be a winner. Maybe. Hope you don't mind. I might put that in a video. It's actually pretty good. I'll give you credit for it. Let's see. Two-door Bronco truck for hauling the oats. Bronco 78. That is something that initially I thought I did. I really did. But let's go with that for a minute. What is the likelihood that Ford, and I think a lot of spy photos are things that they want to see the reaction of public. So, like, and then some of them are just people just get them and they're not supposed to. How likely would it be that a truck would be built and no one at all have said anything? Not impossible. And so let's go with those three options. It's a V8 Bronco, which is probably the most least likely. Monty said over any terrain except snow. That would be the acronym there, which is likely. And a truck for hauling the oats, right? Hauling oats. Who knows what they could do with that on marketing? That is a possibility as well. I did think about it, but then I thought it seems to me that it looks so different. Obviously from a distance, you would obviously know it's a truck, right? Whereas an EV, they could camouflage and hide some of the stuff, and hybrid, I shouldn't say EV. They could hide a lot of the stuff. So I don't know. I think Bronco 78 and Monty, there you go. Very well. There's a really two good possibilities. So TJ Miller said if they ever make a V8 Bronco, people will lose their minds. Yeah, and their retirement, because buying them is going to be pricey. Like I said, from what I understand, I could be totally wrong, but from what I understand is it's a line issue. Even there was an engineer talking, and he didn't say this word for word, but I gathered this is that even the 3.5 was an issue on this particular line. There was something to do with it. And so if that's right, then, they're limited to the 2.7. And the 3.0 is really a 2.7 block modified. So it's still pretty much the same engine with some small changes. Let's see. Let's go. Ford has several crazy patents filed for the Bronco right now. Yes, they do. And I did see one where, they're always patenting something. They'll come up with this technology, this idea, and get it, which is good. That's great to do that, because then you go down that rabbit hole of designing it and it's protected. That's why we do it. Let's see. PA thinks it's a great idea to mix shale with salt. I'm reading this comment from TJ Miller, by the way. Yeah. If you live, I found out in Detroit, everybody lives up there told me, hey, there's two seasons. There's winter and construction. When we were going down the interstate, man, we were all in a row. We were leaving Jeff's Bronco graveyard and we're headed to Michigan Assembly Plant. I was so worried about in that construction zone. Well, I'm getting a rock chip. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. And I'm a positive thinker, right? So I'm saying, no, it's not. And anyway, I didn't. But man, the rocks were, they were around. I didn't even get a paint chip on that trip. So I was very happy with it. But yeah, up in PA, I do hear a Bronco 78 says, so is the Mustang getting a Godzilla engine? It can, but basically what's happening is the Ford has taken the 7.3 Godzilla engine. They've relocated or actually redesigned the intake and moved the air horn down slightly. So if you've ever seen, I think I posted it on my Facebook page, there was this Mustang running around and had this giant hood, raised portion on the front of the hood. And that was to cover that horn there. Obviously, they wouldn't release a vehicle like that, but they were just testing it. And so what they found is that there's going to be this 3.7 conversion kit that you can put in any project vehicle that you have and in a Mustang. You can put it in an S650 when they come out if you wanted to. But it's definitely aftermarket. I don't know anything about, I guess it's a pushrod engine. I believe it or not, I like engines and I know engines. I haven't dived into that one, but I do think it's a pushrod engine, which if you notice when you hear it, it sounds more like a traditional V8. So it's probably cross plane crank versus a flat plane. And a flat plane crank, there's a different sound with the harmonics because that's a heavily balanced engine. But the main thing about a Mustang, the reason why it has that very distinctive sound, there's something called scavenging. It's the firing order, and it's how one cylinder will actually help draw exhaust out of the adjacent firing cylinder. Anyway, you have firing orders like this on V8s, most V8s, and the flat plane is pretty much left, right, left, right, left, right. So there's some cool stuff there. It sounded different. It sounded like a traditional pushrod engine. I need to do some research, but I do know they've remade the intake, so it has a lower profile versus the picture that you might have seen. So, sorry, I know I just ramble on some of this stuff, but that's what you do on a live stream, right? You just ramble. Let's see. Flo said, I turned the snorkel around in the cold Chicago winter. I found it runs better. That's interesting. Yeah, because most of the time it would be because you're in that heavy dust, dirt environment, heavy rain or wet snow. I don't know why that would be, but hey, you're the expert. I do not know that much about snorkels. Let's see. In Phoenix, can claim 3 windshields a year. No penalty, does not go against you. Steve P, thanks for that comment. That's interesting. I know I'm always cautious about doing that. All Terrain Nation, hey, what's going on? Thanks for checking in tonight. Hope all is well. I guess you're probably doing a softball thing. I know soccer's starting up for us, so I'll be running around on that. Let's see. I heard a rumor that they are testing a Mustang with a Godzilla engine in it. Yeah, they are. It's an older Mustang, though. It's not anything new, but it would be aftermarket. Ford loves the Coyote in that. Hopefully they've gained the 10 horsepower back that they've lost in 22. So in 22, they lost 10 horsepower, and that was as a emissions thing. At least it was rated 10 horsepower less. Now, did someone take one to a chassis dyno and find out? I don't know. But hopefully it gains all that back. Let's see. Mark Kelly said Godzilla looks very similar to all of the LS engines. It's a pushrod motor. Yeah. So I thought they went back to that pushrod, which is interesting, isn't it? Kind of, they've moved away from it, and then there it is again. So I like pushrod engines, but I'll also tell you that the flat plane overhead cam engines, you can definitely wind them up and carry that RPM band, that torque. Well, mainly the RPM, the red line, you can carry it a lot higher. Let's see. By the way, I'll be getting Micah said, by the way, I'll be getting my Bronco next week. Congratulations. That is awesome. Like I said, if you're over on Instagram, by the way, because you can't do it here, send us a picture, tag us in it. I'd love to see it. And then congratulations. Good for you. That is awesome. So, and I want everyone that's been waiting. I know Terrence, I don't know if he's in here watching tonight. He's probably, from anyone that I've seen in the chats, he's been waiting the longest. And who knows, probably somebody longer than him, but someone that we know of. And I just really want him to get his build date and ultimately his Bronco, because, geez. Let's see what is going on. Soft top, not foot. Okay. Bronco dude. What if it's a beach goer? Okay, sorry, I didn't see your comment earlier. The only elements that I have released the Bronco, snow, Bronco, and the beach. So I don't know where you're at. We go to the Outer Banks. We're going to be there this weekend, by the way. And I think my mother is going to go 4-wheeling for the first time. So video to come. So blowing sand. I will say this. I know there's some people that don't remember they have air filters in their Broncos. I am very engine conscious. And so one day we were there and there was a lot of wind. I shouldn't even have went, right? Because you had to keep the windows up in the direction that the wind was coming from. But it was so windy, you could see the sand blowing in front of you. And I wanted to see, when we got home, how much sand made it into the air filter, into the air box. And surprisingly, there was just a little bit of sand in the bottom of the air box. And I could knock a little bit out of the filter, but not much. There was none past the filter. So the filter seals in the air box nicely. The filter did its job. So I was pleased with that. With a snorkel, here's what I would do. If I had a Bronco with a snorkel and I was on the beach and it was a windy day, I would reverse the intake to the rear. That's what I would do, because I'm conscious of this stuff. Sand is no joke. in an engine. But we go to the Outer Banks only one day when it was really, and it was so windy you couldn't even have fun. You couldn't sit on the beach, because it was just nasty. So I probably shouldn't even have went that day, but any other day I've been there, it's been great. Now, maneuverability, driving the Territory tires on the beach, I've had really good luck with it. Sasquatch with the gearing, it's I have no issues. What all I know, Johnny with Johnny's Car Care and Reviews came down, and we took his blue Bronco and our Bronco, and uh, we went and both of us just cruised through there, not an issue at all. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're cruising down Corova Beach, it is not crazy. Where it gets, especially for new wheelers like myself, where it gets a little sketchy sometimes is when you're going over the dunes into the neighborhood, and there's an entire neighborhood, no road, curb, gutters, just loose sand. It's so dry unless it's recently rained and it gets driven on, so it's real loose. That's when you're going up, and we have a video here. And if you go after the show here, look at one of our shorts that we have on the the video shorts. You'll see one where we went up and we were looking at sky. Right, I don't know what the angle was, but we went over that, and loose sand, it drove right up. So it's actually a fun vehicle to drive in the sand. I know I like it, and we're going this weekend, and we're gonna have a video. So let's see. TJ Miller, got to watch the sand getting stuck in the trim in the windows and scratching the glass. Very good point. So when we left the beach, we did exactly that. I had this little, like it was a flat piece of metal. I didn't know it was for. It was in my tool bag. We ran it down into just below that seal, and I, angled it and just able to clean that little bit of sand line out. And that was on the, I guess it was on both sides. It seemed that it got more on the driver's side, going down the beach. Of course, when you turn around, you're just coming back the other way, but we didn't have as much on the passenger side. So definitely a strange thing there. But normal beach driving, it's not an issue. It's not an issue to manage the sand. It drives over it like anything else. Let's see. I was trying to think. There was another one over the Oates. Going back to Oates, over any terrain except sand. I just think that just go have fun with it. I will tell you that if you ever go to the Outer Banks and you go to Corova, which is in Corolla, you go through Corolla and you get to Corova Beach. When you go from the hard surface road onto the beach, that's where people typically get stuck. Johnny and I actually pulled a Ford Excursion out that was stuck. And there's, like I said, a video on our channel for that. That was interesting. I feel bad though. Johnny had the rough job on that. He had the shovel and I had the driver's seat. So next time Johnny comes down and we have to pull somebody out, he'll pull them out and I'll do the shoveling. Right. We'll make it go from there. Sorry about that. What else do we have here? I want to know questions, and I appreciate the questions so far. But here's another one from Bronco Dude. But any other questions that you have that I can help answer, and if I don't know the answer, I'll look it up. It'd be a good idea for a video. Bronco Dude said, for the Oates edition, I was thinking it could be a beach rig, like that cool blue Riptide Bronco last year. I do remember that. That was set up for the beach, I think. Did the Riptide have the cutout doors, what do they call them? The halo doors? I do remember it had all the gear on top. It had some, it was blue. I want to say it was in California. They revealed it and Bronco Nation did it. Let's see. Last year, the Arctic type Bronco for snow. Yeah. Hey, Bronco Dude, yeah, anytime. I appreciate you checking out our channel. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We did a walk around, and Gavin did it, I think, here on our channel of an Everglades that we were able to see in Townsend. Now, I know some people don't like it because they don't like the snorkel. I think that the Everglades is so cool. The fenders, the badge on the side, there again, some people don't like it. I personally liked it. I mean, um, you got desert sand. I did see in Detroit a eruption green one, and they had it set up. I tell everybody this about the Everglades. We'll move on. Um, yeah, and it did start out a black diamond mid package. The difference is, like I said, the 12-inch infotainment screen was something the only Bronco you can get a 12-inch screen in mid package. Um, I think Ford gave the person that's going to do some cool overlanding, camping, um, and of course wheeling with Sasquatch. They gave them a head start, right? Hardtop, MIC, the MIC top, the roof racks. So roof mounted tent if you want it, the pull out tailgate. Um, it's it's the urban green accent inside. It's got nothing to do with wheeling. It's just kind of a cool different feature. Um, the marine grade vinyl, the higher like 36, I want to say it's 36.5-inch water fording capability. And of course, by the way, on that, there's a max speed. It's not a submarine. So Ford does tell you in the owner's manual. I think it may have been Kelly over at All Terrain Nation, maybe posted this on social media one day or maybe it was somewhere else, maybe sure, I have no idea, but somewhere the owner's manual says that max speed 4 miles per hour, I think it is, if when you're in water that deep. But I think with all of the stuff in there, it's just really a cool feature. And with desert sand, you're going to have a rare Bronco. Oh, let's see. TJ Miller, I love the Everglades, but wanted 2.7 for towing. And that is something. And, we don't know if it was because they were building a trim with an engine at the time was more readily available, or if it's something that had to do with airflow through the snorkel or decibels, the sound of the air moving. If it was like a noise emissions noise issue, or if it's just because hey, we have these 2.3s, let's make a trim for this. I know it's more than capable, no doubt, but yeah, I was telling someone that if we didn't have the Bronco Raptor coming, that would have been a very real likelihood for us to get, just because of the cool factor on it. So anyway, good deal. Look forward to seeing it. Oh, let's see. Bronco 78. I didn't see your comment. I want to give you credit for that submarine. Some people also think their Bronco's a submarine. Yes, they do. And if you run it in the water like a submarine and beat it to death, expect it to break. Let's see. Godzilla would be awesome in a 78. So Bronco 78, I'm going in 60s, trying to lighten your wallet there for you, I see. But it's for whatever vehicle you want it to be in. It's interesting with the new engines where, if you were off-roading, your camshaft really was effective. If you're building an engine 20 years ago, the camshaft you selected was heavily dependent on what you were doing with your engine, right? You build an engine for what you're doing. If you're drag racing, if you're roundy round, if you're wheeling, I mean, you're building an engine for that. Now engines just have so much flexibility with the electronics and the technology they've got in them. So that same engine would do really well in a Mustang in a quarter mile, and it would do great in a 78 Bronco. So that's what you ought to do. I think it's a good idea. But if you think about the possibility of a V8 Bronco out there, I think Ford could do it and say they did it. They could also do it because the novelty of it, special built, more expensive, right? $150K, something like that, before dealers. Some dealers. I have a great dealer, by the way. No issues whatsoever. Love them to death. They're great. But definitely love dealing with them. But I would say that after dealers got through with them, it's $200K. But it's one thing. You can say you built it, you did it, but I don't know. In the practical world, and I'll tell you this, I'm not really hung up on the V8 thing anymore because I'm so happy with the 2.7. And I'd probably be happy with a 2.3. I've never driven a Bronco with a 2.3. We did a review of a Big Ben of a dealer mannequin, and it was a 2.7. So it was non-Sasquatch, but I've never driven a 2.3 to my knowledge. I need to drive one, but I can just say that the 2.7 it's a great engine. It was fun driving on the highway. It's fun driving around town. And that's just, I do have something going on into 21 that I got to work on. And we have a little, if you can believe this, a squeaking seatbelt in the rear. So passenger side where you buckle the seatbelt, when Gavin, that's his perch back there. That's where he sits. When he's sitting there, and he always, when we're moving, he's always seatbelted in. So I need to have my wife drive, and I'll sit in the back, maybe in the neighborhood without the seatbelt on, and see if it does it without the seatbelt. But when he gets in there and moves around, no big deal. When he connects the seatbelt, you hear it. And if you look on the passenger side and the rear, that's where the two buckles are for the passenger right rear and the center. So the center seatbelt comes over, clicks in, the passenger clicks in, so they're together. There's a spring in there, and I think something with that spring is squeaking. There again, it's not bad, but it's one of those things where I just want to see what it is, like the top we had popping. I don't want to hear that and see what it is. And, and even if I can fix it, I'll still let the dealer know because, I think they're taking pictures of this stuff and reporting it back. And, Ford's quality controls, they mean business to get this stuff fixed. So, so I'm convinced some car companies just don't care, but I can tell you with the addition of the QC people, they're trying to get ahead of stuff. I did see the other day, by the way, and there again, I'm not complaining about our Broncos. I'm very, very happy. New model built during the time that was built with all the chaos in the world. I'm very happy with ours. There was one of the supercars. I can't remember what, and I don't want to say their name if it wasn't them, but there's one of these very expensive, like $300,000 to $500,000 supercars that had some rusted bolts. It's a rear engine. I think technically called a mid-engine car, but some of the bolts in the back were rusting, and one bolt was actually laying out. It was, I think somebody did a short on it, YouTube short. And I could not believe that. And I'm thinking for that kind of money, you would think that wouldn't happen. Now, did it leave the factory like that, or did somebody mess with it between it leaving the factory? But how did they get rusted? I figured they came completely covered, and whatever brand it was, but it was I think I know what it was, but until I know, I don't want to say it, but it was a very expensive car. Every car manufacturer has stuff going on. And the Bronco, to me, has been, for a new vehicle, like I said, built when it's been very, very, I've been very happy with it. So no issues whatsoever. So if I have a little bit of squeak in the seatbelt, no big deal. We're going to work on it. Not an issue. It will be interesting to see if the 23 hardtops are different. The guide pins on the front panels. It'll be interesting if those are different or what's going on with that. Shoot, I mean, everything else, I don't know of any real major issues out there. You get beat up. Like I have 2.7 engine video, and the comments, it's an evergreen video, which means people keep watching it because of, the 2.7 stuff. A lot of people don't understand that. Heaven help you when you get on the downside of a news cycle, because then people just run you over. The 2.7 failure rate is not much different than typical failure rates overall in any type of industry, right? I can tell you HVAC has probably a higher failure rate of compressors than a 2.7 does. But the problem is it's the hottest vehicle to hit the market, and there you go. Our 2.7s have been great. They both run good. They sound good. I've never been happier with the MPG, especially seeing what I see, and I know it's drivability. How much throttle do you give it is going to help you on the MPG, but I'm very happy with it. But we're getting ready to do another video on the 2.7, where are we now type thing. How do we like it? But I started getting into that, speaking about quality. When you have something like the Bronco and you have multiple forums and you have people mad, just just angry because they're waiting for their order, and then someone else finally gets it, and the dealer stuck them with a $10,000 admin and a ADM. They're just, and then there's a squeak. Yeah, some people just get mad and angry, and like I understand frustrated, but when you look at the macro Bronco program and how many Broncos are built, I mean, they're really, I think they've done a good job. Yes, am I a fan? Yes, it's kind of obvious I like it, but I'm just telling you, if there's something about it, like when the front diff started leaking R22, I told everybody, I did a video, hey, keep an eye on it. You do your oil change or somebody does it, tell them to pay attention to it. The Bronco is a very reliable off-road machine, and especially if you use it. Now, if you put big tires on it and you run into a rock, you're probably going to break something in the front end. I mean, it's just going to happen. The kind of wheeling that I do in the sand, light trail, stuff like that, I'll probably never break a tie rod in. But there again, other brands have been building pretty much same vehicle for 50 plus years, and they still have some of the same problems. So I think that the Bronco to me is one of the most reliable all-terrain vehicles so far that is built, and they haven't been on the market that long to have some of the same problems. So I think, closing this part of the showdown, I'm very happy with it. And like I said, you look at the macro, you look at the total number of Broncos, you look at the complaints, it's probably less than some of the vehicles that you think are the most reliable. Some of the big EVs out there, if you've ever looked underneath one of those, it's not exactly the best looking undercarriage, but it's there. It works. No water gets in it, and that's all that matters. So, hey, Johnny, what's going on? Johnny, I was just talking about you a few minutes ago. I said you got the bum deal in the Outer Banks when we pulled that excursion out. You had the shovel and I had the driver's seat. So next time you come down here, if we see somebody, we'll have to switch it up. But hey, Johnny, thanks for tuning in. And everyone here, I'm sure, knows Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. If you haven't watched his channel, head on over and check it out. Also, Overlanding for Fun. Check out his channel. And by the way, when you go over there, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on you watch a video, but definitely subscribe. And also All Terrain Nation, good friends, good people, and check out their channels. Pretty cool. And if you're watching our channel, the likelihood you watch theirs is pretty high. And we picked up a lot of subscribers in the last month. And I want to say, if you're one of them and you're watching us and maybe it's your first live stream, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate you checking us out, giving us a chance to entertain and talk Bronco. And let's see. Yeah, and Johnny, definitely have to come back out. The 2.3 is good. Yeah, we were talking. Let's see. My front diff is stuck in lock mode when I'm in 4A. So 2A is, that's really weird. So someone that I heard had and if you're still here watching, you can chime in, had a solenoid on the rear diff foul up a little bit. I guess that's got to be replaced. So maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Yep. But yeah, the 2.3 liter, like I said, I'm okay with both engines. 2.3, 2.7, we did the video on both of them, kind of breaking them down of, which one has what. They both have some really great technology. By the way, the 2.3 and the S650, the 2024 Mustang, they've boosted the horsepower on that one. At least the rumor is. Ford hasn't announced anything solid yet, but I think it's pretty notable if you look at the 2.3 and the Bronco and the Mustang. The Mustang's getting ready to get a jolt of that. So let's see. When you say, Johnny, you said partially locked, I would say the solenoid on the diff is a possibility. And it could be mechanical. It could be something's just not, wanting to engage and disengage properly, but it could be electrical. Yeah. And Johnny's 2016 Mustang was a 2.3 and it was great. Yeah. The EcoBoost, one thing about the 2.3, especially with the Bronco and, obviously Mustang, there's so much with the Mustang. There's so much aftermarket components for it that you can do all types of fun things with, all sorts of fun stuff with a 2.3 versus the 2.7, where it's been mainly especially the first gen, but the second generation 2.7, it's mainly been F-150, and other vehicles as well. But I just, you're not typically hopping up all these other vehicles like that. Whereas a Bronco, you're more likely definitely in a Mustang, but they don't offer the 2.7 in a Mustang. So the 2.3 was the one getting hopped up. And of course the Coyote, the 5.0, and the 5.2 Predator. And by the way, last week I actually said I made a mistake. I was talking about Mustangs and Flat Rock Assembly Plant, and I was talking about the niche line for engines. The 5.2 Predator engine, which is the Shelby GT500 engine, also the Bronco, the F-150. I keep wanting to say Bronco Raptor, or the F-150 Raptor R. It's the same engine, the 5.2 supercharged Predator. I said it was, built at Flat Rock. It's built in the Romeo engine plant, but it is on the niche line, which is hand built. You get one of those engines, it's actually initialed in the valve cover of the engine builder. So, look at the name, who built the engine. But it's actually, and I think there's technically one engine builder, but there's always somebody to help knock the pistons in, lift stuff. So there's, I guess, maybe two signatures on there now, but I think it's technically one engine builder. But I want to clear the air. It is on the niche line, but it's the Romeo engine plant, not Flat Rock. Flat Rock is where they're delivered and where the Mustangs are built. But Flat Rock is a real deal plant. They do stamping there. There's a lot in that ecosystem there. And I don't know if they still offer the tours, but if they do, I definitely want to go check that out. And I think with all the Mustang hype getting ready to start, it's going to be fun. And Johnny, probably mentioned to you, offline sometime, but we have a pretty cool Mustang S650 video dropping this weekend, maybe Friday, maybe Saturday, and it's going to be fun. So I know you're going to be covering that as well. Oh, let's see. Back to Bronco talk. New 5.0 has a belt-driven oil pump. I think that's a lot of speech don't like that. So yeah, if that's true, and I don't know, I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying I haven't read that yet. I know the 2.7 has a variable capacity belt drive. I think variable capacity oil pumps is one of the ways they're trying to make engines more efficient, but mainly give them a little bit more horsepower because of parasitic loss. The more oil that they can cut down sloshing around the crankshaft, I don't know if that's a rear oiler, if they're spraying the bottom of the piston on that like they do to 2.7, but they do that to kind of help with drag in the engine or parasitic loss. If it's belt driven, I would think that it's going to be variable capacity, but I don't know. So thanks for telling me. I'm going to look into that. Yeah, Johnny, on this channel and most people watching right now, we've been heavy Bronco, and we still are. Wednesday nights is dedicated to Bronco, except right now we're talking Mustang for some reason. The interest in the Mustang is really, really peaked, and I wanted to go to Detroit for the reveal. I don't think that's now going to happen, but I wanted to be there for that. But either way, if somebody at Ford's watching, just my email's on the thing. Just email me an invitation and I'll be there. I'll get myself there. But I'd love to be behind the scenes on that. It'd be pretty awesome. But that, what platform the Mustang's built on? Are they setting it up for hybrid? Are they setting it up for all-wheel drive? If so, they're going to build it on a different platform than what's currently the 550's on. Who knows? I mean, there's so much speculation out there. And I think one thing about the Mustang that you could tie to the Bronco would be, it seems that the retro interior of the Mustang is going to get chipped away quite a bit with the new digital cluster. So there's going to be a digital touch screen, infotainment screen. There's going to be maybe different from spy photos out there, different climate vents, the AC vents and heat vents. They're going to move that around. Maybe maybe put it back in the center like it was in a Fox body Mustang versus the round ones kind of located up higher. But it looks like with the safety and tech that they're going to be adding to the Mustang, they're chipping away at some of the retro look in it. I think when I was talking about earlier about how the Bronco's not going to change that much over the next, say, 4 years, I think the body on it's going to be close to the same with, tweaks here and there, different fenders, hood. But I think that you'll see that the interior changes more so than the exterior. It's just my prediction. Oh, let's see here. What else is going on here? I look forward. Okay, never mind. Bronco Dude and Johnny, they're having a catching up conversation. That's awesome. Hey, but anyway, any more comments about the Bronco? I definitely want to know what is any questions, concerns, anything for 23. We didn't really talk about too many things that's going to be added for 23 because I don't know. The person that I talked to about this said, maybe in a week we'll get some more details. I don't know when the ordering guide drops. I thought it was supposed to drop by now, but at least the other day hadn't heard anything. So any update on the ordering guide on that? Anybody can tell me, that would be awesome. But we shall see. But yeah, I think that the Broncos changing enough for 23 to get. Think about this. If you've been waiting 2 years for your Bronco, and suddenly for 23, they're doing away, the interior's changing, they're changing a lot of stuff. That would make a lot of people mad. I think the changes that are being made are definitely additions, right? Maybe if you were, just wanted cyber orange, that's going to be an issue. But, if you wanted a painted top, well, guess what? You waited. If you wanted that special trim, where there's going to be a low quantity built, roughly 4,000 of them, and that's the Heritage Limited. And I guess pretty much an unlimited amount of the Heritage. So if you want that special trim, then the Heritage is for you. If you wanted the special trim that's going to be built in low quantities, then the Heritage Limited is for you. And if you can get your hands on one. There again, there's two different vehicles. One's a Big Ben, they built off the Big Ben, that's the Heritage, and they built off the Badlands for the Heritage Limited. So if you're waiting on something like that, perfect. It stinks to wait. Some people were able to convert over to the Raptor, so they were waiting. So that was the benefit. If the money wasn't an issue, the price point wasn't an issue, and the dealer was going to sell it to them for, MSRP, that's a perfect win for them. So let's hope that some of these changes are going to be beneficial for those that have been waiting. And I think that's the hope that I have, is that if you've been waiting 2 years, you get something a little cooler in your Bronco than I have, right? Because look, you've been waiting and you deserve it. Now, having said that, when 25 rolls around, I would expect some changes, more significant changes, because if you look at the duty cycle, that's starting to put it into that 5-year range. You start to expect certain things to change. I would think that schedule is modified because of the popularity of this Bronco and the fact that they still haven't been able to build all the orders. So I think the duty cycle stretched. I really do. And I think that changes that might have naturally happened in 24 are now going to happen in 25 or 26. And those changes I don't think will be huge. Let me know in your comments. I would love to know what you think. Am I just totally off, base here, or do you agree? Johnny says, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow morning the order guide is available. Could be. I think maybe the person that was telling me was giving it that extra time in there because they didn't want to promise something that they couldn't deliver. Let's see. Is auto transmission the Bronco's the same transmission as the F-150? So it's a 10R60 in the Bronco. In the F-150, I want to say it's a 10R60. I know that the F-250 and I don't know about I think the Raptor gets the 10R80. It could be an 80. I don't know. I'll find out next week. Tune in next Wednesday night at 8:30 and I'll have that answer for you. Yeah, but let's see here. Yeah, and I hope, and I'm going to 60. I think agrees with Johnny. I hope that tomorrow the ordering guide does come out. It'll be, of course, it'll be all over the internet, so we'll all know it by tomorrow. But who knows? Maybe we'll do a video and talk about it. But if there's any big changes, if it's what we know is changing, it's really no news there. But who knows? Let's see. But TJ Miller, I will find out. I know that the Bronco has the 60 and certain trucks have the 80. I just don't know if it's like across the board. I want to say if it's like a 2.7, I want F-150. I want to say it's the 60, but we'll find out. And by the way, you heard horror stories, right? When the Bronco came out, a lot of people were mad that they were putting the 60 in there. Trust me, if there was a big transmission issue, you would have known it. And I'm not saying one hasn't failed, but you would have known. And there again, that didn't happen. Now there again, Broncos have what? Some of them have 30,000. I'm sure there's a 50,000 mile Bronco out there, but most Broncos have that 10. I don't know if you've owned it for a year, 10 to 20,000 miles. Of course, some more than others. My wife is ramping it up, and I'm going to 60. Said 10R80 in the F-150. There you go. He would know. But there again, the 10R60 has been a good transmission for us, and I haven't seen any major issues, so I've been happy with it. I know that some people were expecting the like the Shelby GT 500 transmission, the with the paddle, the clutch, I think the clutchless manual, whatever they call it, but it's the transmission that's in the GT 500. But I forget who it was. Someone had a nice video where they were talking. The person that buys the Bronco or the F-150 Raptor R is likely to tow, their toys around, right? They have a trailer, they have a boat, doing the four-wheelers, the small camper, whatever. And you would need something like a 10R80 for that. And so it only makes sense that they did that transmission in there. StreamYard strikes again. Sorry about that. Let me start over again. Yeah, no, Johnny, it wasn't you. It was StreamYard again. What I was saying was, I don't know if you heard this part or not. The person that's buying the F-150 Raptor R is typically going to tow. They're going to tow a trailer, a camper, their toys around. So Ford decided that over that, performance that you would typically use at a drag strip, that you need the transmission suitable for the terrain and the activities of that F-150 driver. And so the 10R80 is in that. Yes. And sorry about the sound issue, folks. We have ordered a new computer, and as soon as it gets here, it's going to be so awesome. I have two monitors that they're TVs, and I think they're like 50-inch. So I probably won't even need my glasses in. It'd be a different look all the way around. But yeah, when you look at the Bronco, you look at the the Bronco Raptor, you look at F-150 and, Raptor, and then you look at the Raptor R. Ford has really filled that outdoor at high activity performance market right there. You have the Maverick, which is just an all around good looking vehicle. I was actually shocked that there is a city in southeastern Virginia that I don't know how many they have now, but every day you see one of the city trucks that are Mavericks running around. So Ford has obviously done well with the Maverick. And then the Mustang coming out, don't expect it to look totally different. because it's a Mustang. You kind of want some of that look in there, but definitely gonna have a different nose on it. Maybe something with the rear tail lights. But if it's built on a different platform, it's going to be physically a bigger car. Because if they truly are going to do a hybrid with it, then they're going to have to lengthen the wheelbase slightly. And if they're going to do an all-wheel drive, it'll probably be slightly wider. I guess what my point of talking about that much about a Mustang on the show tonight is just saying that Ford is really they've gone wide on their development and their models and the trim. I can't guarantee it, but I would say it's likely that executives with other manufacturers had no idea that the Bronco would come out. And if it did, it would be something like the Blazer, like the new Blazer. And I think probably the folks at Jeep were probably the most shocked, right? When you look at the Mustang, car companies are already killing the V8. I mean, the Camaro goes away, I think, in 2025, period. The Mustang, the 7th generation, they're going to extend the duty cycle of this one. So it might be out 8 years, 10 years. They are advertising the last generation with the internal combustion engine. I'm going to say that likely could change. Like I wouldn't write that in stone. But that's the thinking right now. That's the here and the now. Everybody wants it. AC units, I guess, are calling potential rolling blackouts in California right now. I think the reality is that it's going to be lengthened quite a bit. But my point being is that the Mustang is here, even if it has to go EV one day, it's here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future, because it's the last. I mean, the Mustang's getting ready to turn 59 years old. The 60th anniversary is going to be a big deal. The 24s will be out. It's going to be awesome. But I think when you look at how Ford's done the Bronco, now the Raptor R F-150, then the Bronco Raptor, the Maverick is that solid vehicle that people were buying. And, the Ford vans are, they're everywhere. If you look at Ford vans, I know our company vans for years have always been Ford vans, predictable, reliable, things like that. And then the F-150, right? If you're going to do EV, if that's your thing, you want to go F-150 because it doesn't look like a spaceship. Not knocking the Cybertruck, because some people will buy it because of that. But if you're I would say that the typical buyer going into a dealer right now, ordering or trying to buy a pickup truck that might go EV is more likely to buy an F-150 because of how it looks. I've said that 2 years ago. I said it, when they were thinking about it. If they build a truck that looks similar to what's out there now, they'll sell very well. And like long-term trucks, will they look like the Cybertruck? Well, maybe, but vehicles as a whole, whether it's a car, a pickup truck, a crossover, they always tend to move in a certain general direction as design goes. You remember cars were square at one time, then they started getting really round. Then they went back more of a square design. You look at the Bronco, the 6th generation Bronco. I mean, but like it's a square design. It kind of looks like the Bronco in the 60s. Well, that was the point behind it. The Mustang has a lot of design characteristics of a 64 and a half or 65, 66. Those bodies all look the exact same. Most of your Mustangs are 65, 66, but there are some 64 and a half. And then 67 and 68 changed. Still, from a distance, if you don't know cars, looks about the same, except then you notice the rear valance is curved in versus flat, and they have bigger taillights, bigger distance between the shock towers so they could get bigger engines in the cars, like a 390 and the GT. So there's all sorts of little changes, but that car looks, you see design features in it in a new Mustang. Same thing with the Bronco. But then the Maverick. I mean, the Maverick's not supposed to be a tribute to the old Maverick, right? It's a pickup truck. It's totally different. So I think how all companies, let me get that out. all auto manufacturing companies out there tend to go about the same direction with their design, with their nuances, right? If they're going square, they're all going square. They're going round, they're all going around. But now you're starting to see with the EV stuff, you're starting to see the changes that I don't know, that's going to differentiate people. And because if it's an electric car, what else is there to change? It's a computer on wheels. It's all going to be about design and style and not performance or usability. So that's just my take on that. And folks, I am out of here for the night. I appreciate you watching for the whole 2 hours and 40 seconds. Let's see. Oh God, Bob Master. Uh-oh. Wow. Okay. Before I go, don't go anywhere yet. Bob Masters, does the Bronco 2.7 take 6 or 7 quarts of oil? Uh-oh. Yeah, you're right. That's touchy. So I have 7 quarts in mind because that's what Ford spec. Now, there's supposed to be a bulletin that I haven't gotten my hands on yet. I guess I need to reach out again and ask, has it been changed to 6 quarts? If you look at the dipstick, there was always the issue that the oil was slightly higher than the top hash mark in the dipstick. So you had a hole, the hash marks, a top hole there, and then just above that is where 7 quarts puts it in. When I drained the oil out of my Bronco, 7 quarts came out. So that's going to be interesting if they've changed that. So if you took out a quart, it would put you probably at the bottom of the hash marks. But then you have to ask yourself, is the dipstick exactly the right length then? So I'm more worried about not on the dipstick. I know I have 7 quarts in it. If they call for 7, then I just remember where 7 is on the dipstick, and that's my full mark. The dipstick measurement doesn't freak me out. It was, how much does it take? And Ford said 7. So if that's been changed, if that has been changed, and that'll probably be a good video on that. But I did hear that there was a bulletin that came out, and it's I don't know. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just telling you that in the owner's manual right now it says 7 quarts, and that's what I'm doing until Ford tells me to do something different. But yeah. That's a good point, Bob, and I'm glad you asked that. Thanks about that. Yeah, TJ Miller's at 67, 68, 69, 70 Mustangs. What Mustang, beautiful cars. Man, what about 64 and a half to 66? I have this, let me show you this right here. So my book, Driven, by the way, and by the way, if you want to get a copy of this, TJ, Dwayne is going to self-destruct with how, Bob? Yeah. My book, Driven. So that's my Mustang on the back. It's sitting right here below us in the garage. But that's a 66 GT. But it was originally green and white, black and gold. That's the way it was. Long story, get the book, you can read it. But you can go to drivengear.com. And it is there on the story. But I'll check onto the oil thing. And no, I'm not going to self-destruct. But it is interesting. I mean, I have heard that there's a change, but I heard that on the internet, and how the internet is. All right, everyone. Look, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in for another week. We'll be here next Wednesday night at 8:30. I think Becky might be joining us next week with some fun stuff, and hopefully I have a Bronco Raptor build date. Something to talk about there. If not, we'll definitely be talking about Bronco news, and by then the order guide should be here, should be live, and we should know it. By the way, if you like Mustangs, if you like performance, definitely check out the video we have coming up about the 2024 S650 Mustang. It's going to be hot. Everyone, I'm out. Thank you. Micah, cheers. You have a great night as well. Take care out there. Great cars too. TJ Miller, 65, 66 has really good fastbacks. That's Carroll Shelby really made those cars, but yeah, no, I like all the Mustangs. Doesn't matter. I even had a 74 Mustang too. We'll talk about that later. I actually like the car. Hey, everyone, I'm out. Be safe. Thanks for tuning in. I definitely appreciate you watching, and we don't take it lightly that you spent 2 hours of your night with us. We appreciate you. See you on the next video. Bye.